There is no other gear in Combat Initiation that's as all-around versatile as the Decoy Deploy, a combination of offense and defense that can take out hordes of enemies and gets even stronger when used correctly. It's finally today's topic on the channel, and I have a lot to say about the gear. We're covering everything you need to know about the Decoy Deploy, its base stats, the buff it recently got that changed everything, accessories to look out for if you're going all in on Decoy Deploy, and other gears that synergize with it. Let's get into the video. Decoy Deploy presents a novel solution to a simple problem. What if I wanted to drop aggro and gain a bunch of style in one gear? Well, Decoy Deploy does just that. Using Decoy Deploy's keybind creates a decoy of yourself in front of you. Decoys by default have 5.5 times the player's max health. However, this can be changed. Now, what is all of this health going towards, you might ask? Well, decoys have a higher aggro than players, meaning they'll more often than not be targeted by enemies. After a decoy dies, or 25 seconds have passed since its creation, the decoy will explode, dealing 750 damage to all enemies caught in the blast. Enemies killed by this explosion will reward the player with the Bamboozled Style bonus, which gives the player 50 more style points than the usual kill style bonus. Despite this form of damage clearly being an explosion, it actually isn't considered explosion damage, and therefore it gives you a better style bonus for multi-kills. After a decoy explodes, it'll be put on a 10-second cooldown before it can be deployed again. Why settle for just survival or style when you can get the best of both worlds with Decoy Deploy? The combination of aggro priority and 50 extra style, 110 if you book it after you drop your decoy for an additional 60 point snipes bonus per kill. For every kill it gets, allows it to slot well in most builds without changing too much outside of being aware when its cooldown is done, so the gear's not going to waste. It's the kind of gear that rewards both awareness and timing. A well-timed decoy means you're free to take a breather and reposition for your next big play, something you don't always get the luxury of in as fast-paced of a game as Combat Initiation. Whether you're baiting a horde into an explosion, or just using it as a panic option to drop aggro, it always feels like you're turning the tables instead of just reacting, and is why I hold this gear in such high regard. There aren't really any notable enemy interactions for Decoy Deploy, however I thought I'd note here that ranged enemies like Emerald Blasters and Gunmen aren't stupid and will stay out of the decoy's explosion range, so don't rely on your decoy to take out those types of enemies. The buff Decoy Deploy got was so impactful that it deserves its own section in the video. It added so much depth to an otherwise lackluster gear. Did you really think I just brush over its buff after I praised it so much in the Doomspire's guide? Anyways, the version 2.2 update gave Decoy Deploy the opportunity to be cancelled early by pressing its keybind when active, and not pocketed. Pretty good if you accidentally misplaced a Decoy Deploy, although that's something you shouldn't be doing in the first place. It also got its cooldown buff to a fixed 10 seconds, instead of being based on how long it lived for. This allows players to use Decoy Deploy more aggressively, instead of sitting back and waiting for a long cooldown to tick down, and rewards players who consistently paid attention to its cooldown expiring. Now, while these changes were great, they in no way hold a candle to the last two changes the gear got. Post-rework Decoy Deploy always spawns in with full health, instead of being the percentage of health you have on use, basically assuring consistent performance from your decoys no matter how low your health is. No more glass bones and paper skin decoys that were created because you took a few unfortunate hits beforehand. Last, and the big one, your decoy now builds up charges for the next one based on how much damage the decoy took and how many enemies died in the ensuing decoy explosion. These charges increase the health, explosion damage, and with enough charges, even the explosion radius and size the next decoy spawns with. Upon using a Decoy Deploy, you'll expend all of its charges to power it up. You can get up to 7 charges with a secret overdrive charge level that requires a decoy to take around 5,000 damage, not including explosion kills. It's extremely rare to come by without proper setup, but an overdrive decoy deals a whopping 2.25k damage on explosion, so if you ever manage to get your hands on one, you better not waste it. Really, you want to be aiming for 5 to 7 charges when using Decoy Deploy, as it's pretty easy to reach if you drop it near a horde of enemies, and gives you plenty of value in the process. The version 2.2 buff changed Decoy Deploy from something you'd simply throw into the arena that'll redirect and damage enemies, and that's it, to a nuke in the right hands. A 7-charge decoy deploy deals double the damage of a base decoy with thrice the explosion radius, making it not just a tool to get rid of hordes of weaker enemies anymore, but something with proper strategy attached to it. You start thinking less about if you should use it, and more about when to drop it for maximum payoff. It was so good that it got extremely nerfed in a hotfix after the rework, and then buffed because the changes that were made were an overcorrection. Props to the devs for realizing this. Now, it sits in this perfect middle ground, strong enough to massively reward smart play, but not so broken that you're at a huge opportunity cost for simply not running it. Decoy Deploy is a great gear, but it wouldn't have gotten there without that crucial buff. If you're at this point in the video, I just want to say thanks for watching. If you like what you're seeing, feel free to leave a like on the video so more people can see it. If you want to know when more content drops, feel free to subscribe as well. While I don't recommend building your entire loadout around a gear, this one's pretty funny, so why not go over it? For players who want to go all in on decoys for their build, there's 2 accessories we're going to have to go over to achieve true greatness with a decoy deploy. Troll Faic? Is that how you call it? Look, I'm just going to call it Troll Face. Troll Face and Lol Sign. Troll Face costs 2 budget points, and in return, amps up your decoy's explosion to ridiculous levels. 100% to both its explosion and blast radius, and yes, this does stack with charges. In return, your decoy's health is cut in half, which is both an upside and a downside. It'll explode faster if swarmed by enemies, but you're also not going to be getting a lot of charges out of it due to it having less health to tank damage with. Last but not least, with this accessory, you're guaranteed a decoy deploy the first time gears are available to the player. Great for assuring you'll get a decoy at the first possible opportunity, but I wouldn't use this accessory just for that. If you're equipping this accessory, you're going all in. Next, the Lol Sign. For 1 budget point, you'll explode on death. However, what actually makes it useful for the gear in question is unlisted. This explosion effect also buffs the explosion decoy deploy does on death, increasing its base damage from 750 to 1.1k. And yes, this stacks with both the Troll Face accessory and decoy deploy's charges. Pretty good, but once again, you'd only really use this if you were going all in on decoy deploy. Troll Face is obtained from the Trollish achievement, which simply requires the player to kill 10 or more enemies with a single decoy deploy. This shouldn't be too hard, just wait for a wave with a bunch of noobs and place a decoy deploy down. Lol Sign instead requires the Danger Close achievement, which you can get by dying or killing another teammate with an object you imbued. Typically, you'll get this on accident while parrying or shooting an exploding barrel from the captain boss. That's right, there's an achievement for team killing people in combat initiation. Peak game design. Decoy Deploy doesn't really have a lot of major weapon interactions going for it. However, it does have something relevant for this section. You know the weapon, you love the weapon, we've discussed it before, it's time to discuss about the hammer again. The storage capabilities of the hammer extend to your decoys, as you can store an active decoy with the hammer's alt fire. Storing a decoy will keep its current health and synergies, while resetting its explosion timer. Great for keeping a charged decoy alive longer to build up more charges for the next one. Outside of that niche, yeah, there's nothing your weapons can do to benefit your decoy deploy. I mean, I guess you could also fragment your walls with it, but again, that's just the hammer. However, there are many gears that can benefit your decoy deploy. We have a lot to talk about for gears that give extra effects to a decoy. Those 4 gears are Cheezburger, Bloxy Cola, Bloxiade, and Witch's Brew. Bloxy Cola. By far the best gear to use alongside decoy deploy due to one effect: Sludged. Deploying a decoy while Bloxy Cola is active upgrades its explosion to inflict all enemies in the blast with Sludge too. Sludge makes it so that attacks will give lifesteal regardless of the distance or weapon used. Now, this wouldn't be so huge if it wasn't for when Sludged is applied, because Sludged is actually applied before the explosion, meaning the decoy's explosion grants lifesteal too. This makes Bloxy Cola a great refresher gear to pair with the decoy deploy due to it usually bringing you back to full health on explosion, given you remember to use Bloxy Cola before using your decoy, of course.
Bloxiade.
When a decoy deploy is used while Bloxiade is active, your decoy will actually use its legs for once and run around while it's still active. It'll also gain purple sparkles that are purely cosmetic. Besides that, Bloxiade doesn't really do anything for your decoy deploy.
Cheezburger.
Cheezburger has a very interesting synergy when paired alongside decoy deploy, to say the least. Giving a Cheezburger to an active decoy will cause it to periodically shoot out tacos while it's still alive. Tacos heal 35 health and last for around 25 seconds. For every charge the decoy has, it'll shoot out tacos faster, and you can give it a Cheezburger regardless of if the decoy has other synergies going for it. Pretty good for supporting your team, and that's it.
Witch's Brew.
Allows you to trade a decoy deploy's huge damage output on explosion for huge cooldown buffs. Using a decoy deploy while Witch's Brew is up will decrease the damage of its ensuing explosion, up to 90% less damage at 100% Witch's Brew potency. But in return, said explosion will apply Brood to all enemies caught within it. Brood is a really good effect, allowing you to lower your active gear cooldowns by around 2 to 3 seconds, even longer at higher infliction potencies. That being said, I still think Bloxy Cola is better for the lifesteal.
Filler gears, which can kill.
There's also a bunch of other gears that modify your decoy in some way, but not as notable. Battle Armor's extra health translates over to your decoy's health, Regeneration Coil gives your decoy passive regeneration, and Teddy Bloxpin, it doesn't exactly revive the decoy, but it more so makes it invincible for a little bit. You can also use a decoy as a grappleable surface for the grappling hook. But with how many enemies are going to be rushing that decoy, I wouldn't do that unless you have a good enough plan for what happens afterwards. Decoy deploy is a gear that can be used without much thought. However, mastering it can mean the difference between an S rank and an X rank. Gaining charges for the next one, placing it near a horde of enemies, detonating it early, all of it matters, and it's why you could make a legitimate case for it being the best gear in all of combat initiation. Give it another try and let me know what you think about it in the comments. See ya.